Wednesday, April the 9th. Lake levels 9:15 and about 3/4. That's up about a half a foot since our report last week. We got some rain Monday, and the lake's been on the rise. Actually, it seemed like every boat dock I went to today, the walkways were in the water. So I think it came up 4 or 5 inches just last night. And water temperature depends where you're at on the lake. Now I'm finding water anywhere from 51 degrees where the water's really clear, up to as high as 57, 58 degrees in the backs of the creeks that have got stained water in the upper river arms. A little bit of everything going on. The Bassmaster guys were here last week, and kind of like we expected, they caught them from one end of the lake to the next, and on a variety of baits. Now, the baits that seemed to be the most predominant was without a doubt a wigglewort, a lot of jerkbait fish, a lot of swim bait fish, and there's a lot of jig fish up in the upper river arms. And like I say, they were fishing Upper Long Creek, Upper Kings, Shell Knob area, Kimberling, the James. They caught fish pretty much all over the lake. And I think a lot of the lake is fishing the same right now, with the exception that, if you're in the clear water, if the sun is up high and there's no wind, I'm finding the wigglewort bite and the stickbait bite to be a little bit tougher. I'm having to catch them on a jig. Now, the last couple days, I've been catching them on a biffle hardhead. And that seems to be working a little bit better than a jig. And catching these fish, pretty much all the fish I'm catching are shallow. I mean, a 12 foot or less. And I think probably before the weekend or the first of the week, we're going to start seeing some fish on some beds. I know it's going to get cold again next week, but it looks like the lows for the next 4 or 5 days are only going to be like 50 degrees. It's going to be 70 or 80 high. So degrees temperature high. So a lot of them fish will probably start pulling up in some of that stained water and making beds if they haven't already. Now what I'm throwing a biffle hardhead and a pig sticker, what we call a pig rig. And basically what that is, it's a football head where the head swivels free from the hook. And I'm using different baits as far as behind it. This one's got a Zoom speed craw on it. I've been using a biffle bug. You can use like a twin tail chompers will work. Also, here's one that we had with a centipede on it. There's almost no bait that you can't throw behind it. You can throw a Cinco behind it. And a lot of these fish I'm catching, some of them are on the main lake, some of them are in the creeks, some of them are way back in the creeks. I'm just looking for transition banks, rocks that got, banks that got the big ledge rock with gravel mixed into it, where it's relatively flat and shallow, where the fish are going to spawn, with deep water close by. And like I said, most of the bites have been coming, anywhere from 4 to 5 foot to no deeper than 12. And the way I'm fishing this to get consistently bit, I'm just throwing it out there, kind of trying to parallel with the bank. That seems to be the key. Instead of setting the boat in 20 feet of water like we do a lot of times and casting to the bank and working it out, I'm trying to keep the boat anywhere from 5 to 10 foot of water and casting parallel with the bank. And the whole key seems to be is keeping the bait moving. I'm fishing it as slow as I can, but keeping it banging off the bottom. Another bait you can throw in the same area is a little, anywhere from a 3-inch up to a 5-inch swim bait. This is a 3.8 Kitech, and it's on a 1/4 ounce grub head. Same thing we'd throw a single tail grub on. I'm throwing it in a lot of the same places. If there's some docks and stuff in my way, when I go out around the docks, I'll throw it down the sides, out in front. Now when I get over that deep water, I'm only letting it go down about 5 or 6 feet. And I'm kind of fishing this a lot, similar to how I'm fishing the wobblehead, but instead of ticking it off the bottom, I'm just trying to keep it just off the bottom a little bit. Now on the wobblehead, seems like if I set the hook as soon as I feel the bite, I've been missing the fish. The key seems to be is just keep winding it. Sometimes they'll hit it, kind of like they do a swim bait or an Alabama rig. They'll hit it 2 or 3 times before they get a hold of it. So seems like the best deal is just keep a slow retrieve. If you feel the fish biting on it, just barely keep it moving till you feel them load up on it and set the hook. Seems like if I drop down, try to set the hook as soon as I feel the fish bite, I've been missing the fish. Now another thing I've been throwing, and you know, some of the fish too, like up in Long Creek and some of the areas where it's real bluffy, if there's some little bluff cuts, I've been going in them bluff cuts, been catching them on a wiggle wart, sometimes a spinner bait, and if I can't get them on either one of them, I'll either take that wobble head or a half ounce, anywhere from a 3/8 to a half ounce pig sticker jig, either a Snowden jig or this one here. I've got a half ounce football head, kind of in a watermelon candy skirt. I'm using a Zoom speed craw for a trailer, but you could use a chompers for a trailer. Any kind of twin tail, you could use a pocket chunk. And I'm fishing it the same way as I am that wobble head. You know, trying to parallel the bank. If I can get a bite or two to find out what depth I'm getting bit in, then I try to keep the boat and the bait in that depth. And you know, especially in the clear water, the longer the cast you can make, the better. Now, if you got some wind and clouds down in the real clear water, like I said earlier, I've been catching some on a wiggle wart. If it slicks off and sun gets real high, should be able to fish the same areas with the jig, just fish it a little bit slower. And a lot of these fish, you know, we haven't got bit real good on the points. They seem to be, you know, inside of the points, in there where the like the little swings are. You know, normally this time of year we can get out there with a Carolina rig with a little 4-inch grub or a Carolina rig centipede or lizard and catch them, but they don't seem like they're on the gravel flat points, or at least not that I've found yet. Another thing that'll also work, but I would keep trying them flat points, because that's where a lot of the nimbers of smallmouths and Kentuckys are going to pull up here real quick. A lot of times they'll get out there and suspend anywhere from 5 to 10 foot over 20. But I've been mixing it up with a grub, and also same places I catch them on a wobble head. You should be able to catch them on a little split shot rig. You know, by going with a small weight, kind of forces you to fish the rig real slow. That seems like what the fish want right now, is, you know, the bait moving real slow. Now with the crankbait, you know, if you got some good wind, you can bring that crankbait on pretty good. I'm kind of doing the same thing, you know, keeping the boat in that 8 to 15 foot and paralleling the bank. That way I'm keeping the bait in the strike zone as long as I possibly can. And a lot of the crankbaits, you know, I know when the Bassmaster guys were down here, they're sponsored by all different kinds of companies, but I heard more of them talking about the wiggle wart than any other crankbait. It's something about these Ozark lakes, the wiggle wart really works well. And a lot of them were throwing, you know, the PBJ, the custom colored ones that Fall Creek Lures paints. And I heard a lot of the guys on stage commenting that they were throwing Fall Creek Lure custom painted baits. So, I mean, if you want some really good looking wiggle warts, the only place I know you can get them is Sportsman Factory Outlet there in Springfield. They've got quite a few in stock there already painted. So, you know, there's going to be a lot of things working. Like I say, it's going to cool down a little bit next week, but something else, I've been throwing a Cinco a little bit, been wacky rigging it, but I think a fluke should work in a lot of these same areas where I've been fishing the wobble head and the little swim bait. I didn't have any in the boat today, but I'm going to load it up and give them a try tomorrow. So till next week, good luck, good fishing.